Welcome to the David TODDCAST, the Catbird seat edition. It's Sunday night. And of course, the Steelers take on the New York Giants at Acrisure Stadium, the home of Monday night success for the Steelers of late. They haven't lost since 1992 on Monday night at home. I think there's something crazy like 22-0. But this evening, Sunday, if you're with me watching Sunday or Monday morning, the term for today is Catbird seat, ladies and gentlemen, and that's where the Steelers are sitting. Now, obviously, I don't want to get ahead of myself because tomorrow night, the Steelers got to take care of business and move to 6-2. But if they do, what that will do is put them again in sole possession of first place in the AFC North. And who would have thought that today we'd be sitting here and looking at two more losses from the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC North. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Cleveland fan, this has to be one of the, I imagine there's kind of joy and such, maybe a lot of anger at the whole Deshaun Watson situation. Obviously, tore his Achilles tendon last week, out for the season, and the Browns go to one of my favorite guys in the NFL, Jameis Winston. And, crazy, Jameis Winston, as you know, kind of throws as many touchdowns and INTs as anybody in the league. And if you got to see any of this game today, it was nuts. The Browns had a 10-6 lead at halftime, and then the offenses went off in the second half. The Ravens had a 10-6 lead at halftime, and then the offenses went off in the second half as Cleveland put up 23 points and came out with a 29-24 victory. And Jameis Winston, 27 of 41 for 334 yards, 3 TDs, no INTs. But if you saw the game, as the Browns were trying to drive for the touchdown to take the lead, Jameis Winston badly overthrew a pass right into the hands of Kyle Hamilton, one of the premier safeties in the league. And, this is the pass you throw to your 8-year-old son or daughter, and they catch this no problem. Kyle juggled it a few times. It looked like he was going to put it away. Didn't. Hands on the helmet, on the ground. And sure enough, next play, Jameis Winston hits Cedric Tillman for the touchdown, and the Browns win. By the way, they trade Amari Cooper. What happens? Tillman has 7 catches for 99, 2 TDs. Elijah Moore, 8 for 85. And Jerry Jeudy has 5 for 79. And Njoku. So, new quarterback in there. The only downside here of this, not that the Browns are going to be competitive, but the Steelers got to play the Browns twice, and I think the Browns are a much better team with basically anybody at quarterback, but they're going to be a more interesting, a more fun team. Good for the fans of Cleveland if you have any kind of sympathy for Browns fans, but they'll be a more fun team to watch, and their defense is pretty solid. The Ravens, on the other hand, you got to be a little bit concerned. If you're a Ravens fan, that defense continues to be problematic. And Baltimore put up 24 points. Henry only 11 carries in this game, even though he had 73 yards. Lamar Jackson was good again, but couldn't drive them for the winning touchdown to close it out. Long story short, the Browns beat the Ravens. The Ravens dropped to 5-3. The Browns go to 2-6. They are pretty much out of it. You can't imagine they can go on enough of a run at this point. And the Bengals, in a game that was close early on and was an entertaining game to watch between the Eagles and the Bengals, they get smoked in the second half by the Eagles. And good night, Cincinnati. 37-17, lose by 20, and they dropped to 3-5. Now again, Joe Burrow was good in this game, and he was the only good thing about I say he was good. He was good. He did throw an interception, but he was really the only good thing about the Bengals in this game. Chase had 9 catches, but only for 54 yards, and T. Higgins out of this game injured. He's been on the sideline, it feels like, as much as he's played this year. So they drop to 3-5. The Ravens drop to 5-3. And the Steelers at 5-2 are sitting pretty as they go into this game on Monday night. So let's talk about kind of what's happened this week and give you a little bit of a Giants preview, a little Sunday night special to get you ready for the game. But the history of the word Catbird seat, I did look this up the other day, and I was going to use it for different reasons even before the Ravens and the Bengals lost, because I feel like the Steelers are in a really good position where they are right now. if they can win this game tomorrow night. If they can look at this 6-2, there are only 8 or 9 possible teams now in the AFC in the playoff picture. With the way the losses have fallen out, look, the Chargers and the Broncos are, the Broncos defense has been very good. They've had a soft schedule. They're kind of in the mix with the win over the Panthers today. The Chargers win over the Saints. I'm not sure either of those teams are that good. The Steelers have beaten them both already. The East is finished. It's just Buffalo. The South, the Colts, they lose today. The Texans win. There are just not many good teams in the AFC in the playoff hunt. So I feel like the Steelers, with a win tomorrow, can set themselves up where you can say, look, they're in the playoffs. But obviously, as we know, that's not the goal is to win playoff games, get to the AFC title game. And when we think about the AFC at the top end, this is a bifurcated top and bottom, bifurcated conference where the good teams are pretty good. The Chiefs are a very good team. The Ravens, I still think, are a very good team, although questions about their defense. The Bills are a very good team. I think the Texans are a pretty good team. And then you have teams like the Steelers. Where are the Steelers? Are they in that mix with the top 3 or 4 teams in the AFC? And honestly, after that game last week, I felt like there's a whole different trajectory for this Steelers offense. And what we're seeing from the defense and the special teams, well, the defense has had a few hiccups along the way. I really feel like there's enough there, enough playmaking, particularly if the offense can score some points, where this could be a complete football team that you can be really excited about for the second half of the season. So, of course, 5-2. The Steelers go into after this bye. If they're 6-2, they come out, they play the Commanders, which should be a very entertaining game at home. The other thing, by the way, Steelers all of a sudden have a string of 1:00 games after the bye. So if you're tired of these night games, and particularly if you're a season ticket holder or somebody who likes to go to the games, we've had the string of evening games with the Cowboys with last week. And then the game on the road with the Raiders was a late afternoon game, and then of course tomorrow night with the Giants. So we get some early games, but coming into tomorrow, coming off 2 19-point victories, and I'll tell you the reason I mention that is it's interesting historically where those 19-point victories were. The last time the Steelers won back-to-back games by at least 19 points. So obviously cherry picking the number here with the win over the Raiders the other day, being 32-19. That was a 19-point win for the Steelers. And then putting the hammer down on the Jets later in that game to have a very comfortable win. The last time they did that was in 2020 in weeks 9 and 10 when they beat the Bengals 36-10, and then they beat Jacksonville 27-3. Those games, I think that was the order of those games. I remember watching those games. So they beat Jacksonville so comfortably, which just wasn't kind of the case very often. Obviously, had their trouble with Jacksonville in the playoffs. The Bengals kind of hit or miss. Been relatively successful with the Bengals, but 2 dominant games. And what happened was the next week, the Steelers actually won to go to 11-0. And if you'll remember this was a significant moment in Steelers history, because in that game, the Steelers won 19-14, but the Bengals solved the Steelers offense. And the Bengals, I've told the story a couple times, maybe not on the David TODDCAST. Remember, follow me on my Twitter account at David M. Todd, and please like and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. I keep promising that this will be on Apple and Spotify, and I will have it done this week. I'm going to hold myself to that. Come at me with barbs if I don't. But anyway, week 11, they beat the Ravens 19-14. But the Ravens said, look, the Steelers, they don't use the middle of the field. They can't pass the ball effectively. What we're going to do is we're going to bring our linebackers up close to the line of scrimmage. And we're really going to challenge the run game and see if Ben can throw over the linebackers and throw, attack the middle of the field at a deeper depth. You know what? Steelers couldn't do it. And they stumbled into the playoffs going 1-4. And you know what's happened since that time? They've gone 32-28 with a tie and 0-3 in the playoffs. So that, to me, that is a bifurcating moment if you actually take the Ravens win out of it. But since that Ravens game, basically 32-31, including the playoffs, because this team hasn't been able to do things offensively. And this is why, look, I'm going to pat myself on the back again for advocating for Russell Wilson, seeing what Russell Wilson can do. And let's be clear here. One game is not a sample size. But what we saw is what I thought Russell Wilson would bring. And this is the point that I've been making all week on Twitter, is Russell Wilson's experience and ability to read defense and his football IQ set him apart, not from Justin Fields, but set him apart from most quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, look, Russell's an athletic guy and he's a talented guy, but clearly in the NFL category, an athletic and talented, he's not Josh Allen, he's not Justin Herbert, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's a smaller guy, he's got a great arm, but he is a cerebral guy, and I just think this is I actually think, look, we can speak toward fans, but I actually think even sometimes at the highest levels of managing the game in the NFL in the front offices, the football IQ is not appreciated as much as it should be. And this is what Russell brings to the equation. And look, that is a catch-all phrase. It encompasses a lot of things. And it's hard to show on a film clip. You can say he got to the right guy in his progression, or he saw the defense and he knew where he should go with the throw. Of course, that is exactly what this is all about, and that's what Russell brings to the table. Now, what we saw this week from the Orlovskis, and look, I say these guys' names, I like a lot of these guys. I think they do really good work. But Chris Collinsworth made the comment that Russ throws a ball with a high arcing ball that, he is a receiver in his career. He always appreciated that because that allowed him more time to adjust his route or his hands or his eyes or anything he wanted to do to get into position to make the catch. That's a really great point that he made. Now, of course, the way everything works in the analysis in the NFL is somebody makes an intelligent point and the whole world wants to jump on it. Let me tell you, when you run 60 offensive plays in a game, I can find 3 plays that will show whatever I want it to show. So you had guys like, timing Russ's throws versus Justin Fields' throws, like saying, this took 2.7 seconds to get. God, there is nothing less interesting than that stuff. I mean, yes, you can find some of that stuff. And yes, look, that's a great point by Collinsworth. But then all these guys parroting that stuff and pointing it that's the reason that, the Steelers had success with Russell Wilson. A lot of guys didn't want to give Russ compliments because, some of those passes that turned into good plays, Pickens made a great catch or it was underthrown and a Jets defender misplayed it. You know what? A lot of that stuff's true. Can't deny that it happened. But that's the point. I think they're missing a point. And again, I was talking about this when people were calling for a change at halftime of the Jets game. You're missing the point is the bigger vision of what Russ is going to bring to the Steeler offense. Now, look, again, I've been on this bandwagon, but I haven't been on the bandwagon that I'm guaranteed to be right. We don't know if I'm going to be right or if we're going to be right or if Russ is going to get it done. I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it again tomorrow night. I'm super excited about what he's going to bring. And I think, this Giants defense will be a defense that the Steelers can take advantage of. But again, this isn't about, being right or wrong. It's what can the Steelers do to make them a team that will compete in the playoffs, which I think all of us in our heart of hearts have known the last 5 years they haven't been that team. They're not going to go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs or go up to Buffalo and beat the Bills. Now, I feel like maybe things have changed. And, maybe it hasn't been all that successful when they've played in the playoffs at home, but maybe they'll even have a home playoff game this year with these opportunities. So, look, we've talked a lot about the Russ stuff. Again, let's watch the play action tomorrow night, see what he's able to do. A good mix of run and pass. And again, watch Russ go through his progressions, but also he has an understanding when he sees the defense what his best and first and best read usually is going to be. So he showed some mobility that was needed early in that Jets game. The Giants, ferocious with Dexter Lawrence, one of the best players in the NFL in the pass rush. He versus Ryan McCollum will be one of the key matchups to watch on the Steelers on the offensive side of the ball to try and contain that Giants pass rush. It is really good. So Russ is probably going to need some more mobility in this game tomorrow night. So one thing to pay attention to, keep your eyes on Dexter Lawrence. He is the numero uno on that Giants defense. They're going to be, to the Steelers' advantage, the Giants are going to be without Brian Burris, who's injured, another end that they got from Carolina, another stud NFL player, one of the stars of the league. So again, Steelers' advantage with him on the sideline. Okay, what else we got? The other thing in this game, splash plays. Steelers, I think, have had five plays of 30-plus yards against the Jets. Mike Tomlin talked about this early in the year. Splash plays. What can the Steelers do to create more splash plays? Because, as you know, there's nothing more difficult than grinding out 7, 8 first downs in a drive to score points. And look, that's the key for the Steelers defense too. Make other teams have to grind it out. Try, you get more opportunities to stop them and see if you can make a play on defense. A splash, a sack, turnover, obviously has been a big key to the Steelers season. So seeing 5 splash plays after only 7 splash plays, they're defined in different ways, 15, 20, 30 yards. Only 7 plays of 30-plus yards going into that game against the Jets. They get 5 against the Jets. I'd say a huge bonus. Play action was the other aspect. Again, point that out. We pointed it out after the game on Sunday. Russ was under center, 41 of 66 snaps. That's a big number in today's NFL. 62%, the highest since 2016. Again, Russ is comfortable, probably less comfortable because he hadn't played in 10 months since Christmas Eve the prior year. But again, turning his back to the defense. That is a difficult thing for quarterbacks to do. Take your eyes off. You have to turn again. You have to find out where everybody has reset. You know where your guys are going. You know what your first read's going to be. And ideally, some of these passes are shorter. You're setting up a screen or going to Darnell Washington, which was hugely effective in this past game. But it's just you have to have a comfort level, and Russ has that comfort level, and it is a big advantage. So those are some things to watch on the offense. George Pickens attacking them deep. Again, we should see more of that. I'm going to do a little plug here. Chris Carter on the Post-Gazette. Carter Critiques on Twitter, on X. Check him out. He's a guy that I look forward to his film study work every Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it is in the Post-Gazette. He points out some great stuff, and he did that looking at Russ with play action and some of the different things the Steelers offense did this past week. Give Chris a follow and check out his work in the Post-Gazette. Other stories of the week, the wide receiver saga continues. Roman Wilson hurts his hamstring. He is going to be down for the game on Sunday. We will now be past the bye with having seen Roman Wilson dress for 1 game and 5 plays. No, I don't think he got a target. So the number 3 pick in the Steelers draft has really been, or the 3rd round pick and the number 3 pick has really been a non-factor so far this season. So the Steelers tied to every name possible that comes up in the wide receiver draft lottery. We had DeAndre Hopkins go to the Chiefs this week. The big hot name for the Steelers was Cooper Kupp. He ended up playing for the first time in weeks, I think since week 4 against the Vikings. He had a nice game as the Rams came back and beat the Vikings to put themselves, right back in the playoff picture in the NFC. They win 30-20, and that means Cooper Kupp is staying a Ram. So take him off your wish list. The guy who I put on the wish list this week from the Jags, and I'm just drawing a complete blank. The kid who got suspended. Who was it? Who was the Jags wide receiver who had a nice day today? Let me give me 30 seconds to pull this back up. It was, Calvin Ridley. And I didn't see his final stats for the day, but Ridley had 7 catches for 90 yards early. He's 30 years old. He is a 6'1" guy who can fly. He would be a perfect addition to the Steelers. Some people on X were worried about his contract. He's going to make about $20 million each of the next 3 years. But the important thing is he's only the 2025 money's guaranteed. So look, I kind of trade proposals are a waste of time. They're filler for your sports talk radio show. Let's not have too much filler in this podcast. So Ridley was a guy. The semi-interesting move the Steelers did make during the week is they signed Andy Isabella, who was a 2nd-round pick way back in 2019 from UMass by the Arizona Cardinals, and he played 4 years in the league with the Cards, bounced around on the Ravens and the Bills practice squads, I think maybe got dressed for a couple games here or there. But he's a Scotty Miller clone. And I thought we might have had more productivity from Scotty Miller to this point in the season. In the first and second game, I think Scotty was used as a gunner on the punt team. He's not doing that anymore. He's getting 10 snaps a game. He is dressing, but he's not really playing on special teams. So I don't know if this is just kind of insurance or just bring another guy along. Isabella, you would think if he was a guy who had, with a little bit of pedigree and the blazing speed that he has, you'd think if he had anything left, other people would have been knocking on his door at this point. So they signed him off the couch, but expectations are low. So the Steelers, I think the hope is that with Russell Wilson at the quarterback position, we will see him distribute, as we saw him to Darnell Washington, Van Jefferson for the touchdown. We'll see these other guys get more involved because Wilson, with his experience, his football IQ, will get these other guys more involved. So again, Roman Wilson, not a factor. Now the Steelers' top three guys, non-factors. Well, Zach Frazier was a factor for 3 or 4 games, 4 or 5 games before getting injured. But Troy Fautanu, Zach Frazier, Roman Wilson, Steelers' top 3 picks in the draft, sitting on the sidelines. Okay, well, a couple more things about the Giants. They have the Steelers come in with the second-ranked defense in points per game given up behind the Chargers. Chargers had another nice defensive game today. The Giants, look, this is a team that's, in my view, average across the board. They are not getting good quarterback play. The quarterback position has now been a question mark for them for 3 years. They're going to stick with Jones, stick with Daniel Jones. They did sign him to that big contract last year. That hasn't turned out very well. So where are they going longer term? They've got a good couple decent players, but I think they're DVOA. They're 23rd on offense, 22nd on defense, 16th on special teams. They don't do anything particularly well, even though they have some good players. Their first-round pick this year, Malik Neighbors, is a star. And that will be on the Steelers. When they're on defense, that will be the thing to watch. Joey Porter is going to have his hands full with Neighbors. We've seen these three guys taken early in the first round. We've seen these first-round receivers who are just outstanding. Brian Thomas down in Jacksonville, Neighbors with the Giants, Marvin Harrison with Arizona. We haven't seen Oduzze do all that much with the Bears yet, but maybe that gives the Steelers fans some hope next year when they're drafting, first or second round to add a big receiver into the mix. So that'll be Dexter Lawrence on the Giants on the defensive side of the ball will be the guy the Steelers really need to pay attention to. Malik Neighbors on the offensive side of the ball will be the guy that the Steelers need to, certainly have a handle on. Last, not least, turnovers. The Steelers, they've created 13 through 7 games, tied for third most in the league. Their plus minus on turnovers at 9 is only behind Buffalo. As I've told you for as long as I've been talking to you about sports, which is forever, if you gave me only one stat to tell you who won a game after it happened, give me the turnover battle. Tell me who won that, and I'll tell you 90% of the time who won the game. The Steelers have been outstanding, and again, that will be a key tomorrow night. So look, I think again, Catbird seat is the word of the day, the word of the week, and hopefully again the word for tomorrow night. Steelers get a win over the Giants. They are going to be sitting pretty at 6-2 atop the AFC North and heading into a bye week where they can get a bunch of guys back. The names we've talked about are out. Roman Wilson, Zach Frazier, of course. Herbig is still down, outside linebacker. A couple other guys dinged. We got some late news today that Justin Fields has a strained hamstring, so he may not go tomorrow. Kyle Allen would be the backup QB, so we won't see any package of plays, which, there was talk about that last week. I wasn't surprised they didn't use it. There has been some talk this week that Jay Glazer talked to Mike Tomlin and that maybe they'd put that in. They've been working on it. I don't love it. I think you let the quarterback who's running the offense, particularly with the success they were having, kind of continue to run the offense. We're not going to see it this week, so maybe we'll see some of that again in the future. But no, probably won't see Justin. You probably see Justin Fields maybe be the emergency quarterback, or maybe not even I don't think you'll see him be the number 2 guy tomorrow. The other one, Cordero Patterson, won't be back, as I told you, in the middle of the week. He and Matakevich, you've got the bye coming up afterward. Get these guys an extra, 2 weeks of healing time and ready to go against the Commanders. So, look, I think the Steelers are going to have a very productive day tomorrow. People talk forever about not winning games they're supposed to win. I think that's been a little bit of a misused phrase and statistic. The Steelers haven't been a good enough team where they're in a point spread situation where they're more than a 2 or 3 point favorite. And it's been a while since they've been in that situation. They weren't even the favorite in the game last week. And I think the game against the Raiders was a toss-up. Tomorrow night, they're a favorite. So at 6, 6.5, 7, wherever it is, the Steelers are a favorite. It can show, the remaining naysayers that they are a team to be reckoned with if they go out and take care of business. I think they're going to do that. Look at this, look, again, I'm not a big on the points, giving you scores, but I think the Steelers take care of this comfortably and win by double digits. And then we will, as Red Barber used to say back in the 50s, it will really be in the Catbird seat. I'll be back with you after the game tomorrow. Thanks for checking out the David TODDCAST.